Good morning, everybody. What time of the day is it where you are? Well, we've had breakfast and cleaned up, and it's about 9:30, and I've already been wrestling with a bear. Not a live one. I'm trying to do a painting of a bear, and I'm doing pretty good, and I'm fighting with his head. So I do have to get it right sometime today because I have a better bear picture planned in the future. Anyway, I'm sure you'll see it, but whether or not he has a head or not when he's done, that's another story. And today we're going to look at the beautiful dendrobium that everything else froze in the greenhouse, and it didn't, and how it's doing. And also it's time to do another check because it's for my last little orchid I bought with the spotted leaves. I've been still watering it twice a week. One is a soak for about 5 minutes. The second one is just a water run through and drain good and put aside. We have to keep checking the roots because we all know that when we change the medium of an orchid, then there is a shock that goes on, but this is the perfect time to do it because growing season is coming very shortly. New roots will be growing, and we want to always be checking that new plant to make sure we're cleaning it up, getting anything that might have deteriorated from shock of the media change, and cleaning it up and keeping everything good. But also, and really number one is, do I give it its second watering during the week, or is it time to make it go to 1 day a week? I can only tell that by checking the pot before I water. So we're going to do that. We're going to check out the dendrobium, and at the end of this video I'll be adding the video of where I went to the greenhouse and what's going on out there. I'm going to add on the back. So we better get busy, and I'm going to move the camera so that everybody can see really good how those plants did. And I hope you're doing good. Okay. Just get the camera moved. There we go. And down. There. Ooh, we got them both in. So, there we go. So here we go. And over here as best I can. Okay, first thing we want to do and want to notice is the top of the plant is dry because it was on Wednesday, which was watering day, that it got watered. So since then it hasn't, and it is even dried up in the saucer here because we still have very cold, dry weather. So let's have a look. It doesn't take too long. Now what do I notice from the top? Now all these leaves are still firm, so if there's something wrong in the pot, you might say, well, the leaves look really good, but so I don't have to check. You can't go by that because the reaction is slower than that. So what's happening in the pot is going to determine what's happening up here, but it won't show up here right away. So if you've got one that goes limp real quick, then it's been suffering longer. And even some of those roots that look like they're alive could be on their way to not being alive. So we're going to dump out all the media. Now, orchids don't like to be disturbed, but they may not like to be disturbed, but they don't like to go rotten worse than they don't want to be disturbed. And this is why you always check. So, this is what we have. Now, it's watering day, so these are dry. But you know, the last the last day, we did have some roots that turned and we cut them off. And there's a little piece left right here. We're going to just slide off. That's the only piece. That looks like I left it last week. These roots all look healthy. These roots are nice and green, and they are going to plump up when they're watered. And here's a tiny little piece. But there's nothing disastrous happening here. So I could still do the 2-week water because today's halfway and it's dry. Now the roots I took off in the last video were down lower in the pot where it was staying damper, and I added some bigger stones. So this is at the top. Now take notice, this is at the top where the pot is drier. There's no moss on the surface. There's nothing on the surface. These roots are already starting to get used to be growing on the dry side. They have adjusted. And this is a good sign, but so I'm going to still keep with twice a week for now. So I'm just going to put it down, and we're going to check the rocks. Now, in the bottom, I had put some large lava rock. It's holy, so it holds moisture in lots of places, but it's bigger, so the air can get in and out and in and out. And that is to stop this pot from the roots going right into where the water is sitting, because this pot, there's about a ½ an inch before drain holes are showing up. And yes, there's one hole in the bottom, but that one hole, if it gets plugged with something, it won't be working. That's why it does help to have these bigger ones in the bottom. So I'll just put them in the bottom. And now I have some sort of medium ones that were in the bottom that are spreading out in the bark, which is good. It helps for more air circulation, less compaction. Now, this is bark from in the pot near the bottom, and it does feel damp. So it was still giving it some humidity, but it's not real damp. If I squeeze it, you feel dampness. This is a good thing. Now that's from near the bottom. So I do know I can water it today. And there's no roots going down near the bottom yet. Now when they want to grow in the growing season, as the pot is naturally going to be damper at the bottom where not as much air is there, they will smell that and grow towards it. They just know. So I'm not going to soak it. I'm just going to put the bark back around it. Now we've been watching this plant since we changed the medium. I've been trying to show it once a week, either on the Wednesday or the Sunday watering, so that you can all see over time what's been happening. I didn't quite get that low. There we go. There, that should be better. Put that in. So don't think that this plant is staying healthy and it's getting water and it's getting air. Now if I left this in too wet and I went ahead and watered it and the pot was still wet. But because we have our furnace running all the time in the winter, our air in the house is dry, I have to run humidifiers. Most days, watering days, I don't usually run them. All my other orchids, all of them, are only getting watered once a week. Big and small, that's what they get. No other special treatment, except for the ones I'm nursing. And this is the only one I'm really nursing right now. So, there we go. And then I'll bring you over to the sink. I'll get in here. Okay. And we'll get some water. Not as warm as a baby's bottle, but not cold. So, yeah, I can still remember what a baby's bottle is like. Okay, that's all the run. That's it. It's happy. I drained the water out of the saucer and it's ready to sit. Now this one has graduated from sitting on my counter to in the windowsill. So I'll just go put it there and I'll be right back. There we go. There's good till Wednesday. Okay, whoops, sorry. Let me just readjust again. There we go. Okay. I'm not quite right. Here, we'll get it. I know, it's just if I don't play around with the camera, I don't have someone following me filming the whole thing, so I have to adjust everything. Now, yesterday I went in to look at the Dendrobium. Now, her name is Oriental Smile Fantasy, and I got her from Roehampton Orchids. Oh my goodness. No, even before that. I don't have the name of who this came from. Maybe been Roehampton Orchids. So I looked in that room and all these buds were opening. Just beautiful. So many. All the way around. It's hard to show them all at once. Yeah, so what happened was, both of them are Nobile orchids, and every winter I take them from being outside in the fall. I take them and I put them in the greenhouse because we cover the greenhouse, but everything we heat to about 60 in there, maybe 55 I'll say. We heat to a temperature of about 55. But before December, we had the coldest weather on record, coldest weather I ever remember, and it lasted a long time, and everything in the greenhouse froze between the last day I was out there and the day after I went out. And I went out there, and there was, for those of you who didn't see that video, there's a video of that day. The pond was frozen, the ice was this thick, everything was frozen. Everything in the greenhouse had got frozen. But some things, miraculously enough, this is one of them. The other Dendrobium was in a little bit smaller pot. It was a plastic paint can that we had drilled holes in when I didn't have many orchid pots. And it had been doing good because each fall I put it out there, and I like to leave it till I leave them because a little cold helps them to flower. And so I put them both out there, and I usually bring them in when I see the buds are a nice size, maybe about a ½ an inch poking out of the stem. I would bring them in. So I went out to check them thinking I'm going to bring them in, and the heater couldn't keep up with how cold it was, and it was just so bad. The geraniums turned to mush, the amaryllis leaves turned to mush, the lemon and orange tree, some of the lemons froze and the oranges did freeze. Just surprising the difference of what happened. So, but the other Dendrobium all went mush, and I've trimmed it off. I will show you it in the next video following this one. And I'm attaching it. So miraculously, some things have survived. So you will see which ones are starting to perk up and which are not. But this one, it's just amazing. And it does show you that a little cold helps them to flower. Even though this one was in the freezing cold, they can get like 50, even 40, I guess, before they freeze. But this one did good, and what it did was probably gave it the most blooms it's had. So I just had to show that with you and share it because it's something learning. And I have an interesting video planned for the near future as soon as I can find another Phalaenopsis in the store, because I don't want to do it with one of mine. But there's people been sending me videos, and I've seen videos of a technique people are using to save their orchids, but I'm not going to try and save one I already have, because I'm doing what I'm doing with them. But I will get another one and I will do an experiment, and I'll explain the other videos that did it, and it'll be interesting. So that is coming in the near future. I'm attaching the greenhouse video to this one, and I'm going to do a quick tour of everything and show you how the things in the house are doing. And I better get busy at doing that. So I'm just going to put this back so that when I need to do the tour, you can see where it is and how I look after it. Okay, and do this. Okay, we have a nice sunny day for a change. Always welcome. Now, somebody mentioned, do I still have the twins in this pot? I do have twins in this pot. They've been in this pot for a few years. No, I have them in this pot, but I did have my orchids in a great big pot, and I'll have to explain that to them. But I have had the twins in here a few years, and they're very well adjusted. I call them the twins because they're the same color, but look at the roots. Look at how dry. Watering days. I don't mist right here. I kind of do a mist that just floats there, and I always do the outside of the pot. And you can see this pot drains really good because see how it narrows quite a bit and big holes. Yes. Okay, and the basket. I just love these ones. They're beautiful. I have one coming here. I don't want it. I want to see what color it is, and then I'm going to trim it off because there's only 2 leaves, and I want it to get really strong this growing season. And these, they're just healthy and beautiful. I'll show you. Pots are dry. That's important. Oh, and Sogo Vivian, my little pyloric orchid. Look at this. Okay. And over to the other window. This is where I sit and play at piano. You can see I've got up here a fountain. So these enjoy humidity. And then down here I have a misting bowl that I made, just on an upside down base. I like these. You have to keep them clean. Always keep them clean. If you see the water looking messy, clean. Clean it, because you don't want to be breathing something like that. So, okay. And I will turn around. And this this is where I sit this one because it's glass, and it gets lots of reflected light, but it's not got direct heating. I'd love to try another glass one too. I'm liking it. Okay. And in here I put, Horella reticella, I kind of split her up. And she's in here. Let's see if I put my finger there. She's in here. She's getting new leaves, and there's little ones all through there. They're doing really well because she was in this little flower pot and getting too wet because there's no drainage there. So I've done that, and there's nice new roots coming here. Okay. And there's new growth coming in here. And there's a little Horella reticella under that dark kind of leaf. So they are split out in there. Lots of new roots coming, so it's all a good sign. Okay, over here. Lots of new buds coming. Making them bigger and bigger. And up here, this was one I got late last year, and it's about to bud. This is very nice length on all these spikes. That's natural that they grow long. There's more buds coming here. These were the first ones out, so they're starting to fade, and the minis don't last as long. And there's a branch coming on this one. These fell off. And this is my only big lip. There she is. So here I have 2 thrift store misting bowls. Okay. So this is where I have the Dendrobium, so it's getting lots of light. Now direct hot light will, flowers won't last as long. So I have 2 bot misters in here. One there. So it's getting mist and it's helping also out for these plants. Money tree. And here we have Minnie Mart. She's very pretty. I hope they'll turn into a nice spreading plant, but like I say, we're not happy with the leaves, but I have to leave those. They're so pretty. And over here, so I'm going to say goodbye, but I'm attaching the video to outside. And that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. I always love your comments. Hi everybody. This is how I look in the winter. Well, even worse sometimes, I really cover up. But it's freezing outside, but the sun is shining. And I have not been out to the greenhouse for a long time because of the headaches I had, but I'm starting to feel a little better, so I thought, time to come out here and see, because as you know, in the winter, I think it was just before Christmas, we had the biggest, longest freeze that I remember having ever. And we cover the greenhouse with 3 layers of plastic every year, and we've never had any trouble, but everything froze. and I did do a video on that. And we've redesigned the whole thing. We're not going to cover the greenhouse anymore, but you'll learn more about that in the spring. And I wanted to see exactly what was coming, because sometimes in the daytime when the sun is out, because of all the plastic and being in the greenhouse, it warms up quite nicely. So I wanted to come out and see what was happening. And what has really frozen, as you know, one dendrobium made it somehow. When the pots were frozen right through, everything was frozen. One made it. And I'm going to show you what else is looking like it made it and didn't make it. So some things are just totally amazing, and I am so happy about that. So this is how I look. I have a big long coat that, let me see if I can get it. Yep, I have a big long coat, and I have no slip boots. I'm not sure what you're getting on that, but anyway, this is how life is. I'm not always a model, you know. That's funny. Okay, let's have a look in here and just see what's happening. So I can feel better this way than the other way. So I came in the first time this morning. I did sweep the floor a little bit because I put what I swept up in there. Because we did lose leaves. Now this is the orange tree, and we're going to prune it and keep it small. It's debatable whether they'll go on the new patio or not. We're not sure what we're doing, but it won't be a problem with freezing. Now, spring is coming. See? Here. Now these leaves all need washed, and up here, so this is a blood orange tree, and when I say everything froze in here, the pond, which was way more full of water, was all ice, and you could hit it with a hammer and it would not break. I could not water from here like I usually do. So everything froze. The pots froze right through. And over here, the amaryllis, I'm sure they were all frozen. Now, I think some of them are going to make it. Maybe some not. This one here isn't looking too good. But I'm hoping, because they did freeze, and time will tell. Some don't look good. Some may be coming. And of course, all the tomato plants, they definitely froze. So we'll back up. Now I have to walk along this. We're not too sure what we're going to do out here. Might be a nice sitting area with where I start my seeds in the spring. And down here there's no sign of life, and I watered them, but hard to say. One little succulent that was out here has survived, the other one not. The geraniums, some are looking like they might be okay, but time will tell with them. But look at the cymbidium. Now, these are all new sprouts since, spikes since the freeze. And this plant needs divided anyway, so I'm going to get 2 plants out of it and clean it up real good, another spring job. But it just shows you how hardy some things are than others. Just like people, some people can survive something that someone else might not. It's just the luck of the draw. So, and that reminds me, I thank you again for the people sending prayers out for my headache, and it's not over yet, but it's certainly helping, and it's much appreciated. So, this is getting a little big to keep bringing in the house too, and I'm sure it would do good in the fall and winter on the patio when it's finished, our new patio. So, amazing. So these will be out in full bloom soon. But over here, these geraniums, well, we will see. It depends. And this is the other dendrobium. As you know, I've got the one in the house, and they're both Nobile dendrobiums. And the one in the house was in a little bit bigger pot. The only difference were this one, all the stems had gone to mush. And what I did was I cut them off. They were just mush. Now whether anything will come up from the bottom, I do not know. And I'll assess it more at another time. But it's funny that maybe because it was a smaller pot, I don't know. But even the top, the spikes were tall. They turned to mush, yet the other dendrobium, which was right beside it, actually it was higher, so it was where it was colder. And the heater is way down by the pond, so very strange. This one didn't make it, the other one did. And up here, there is some life. Now these are all going to need repotted and cleaned up, and we'll get some survivors. This one here, it's been high, furthest away from any warmth, higher near the freezing, yet why did it make it? We just don't know. But the lemon tree, we're going to try and keep them pruned a little smaller, but there is buds coming. They're going to get repotted. We're going to dump all this out when we're both real energetic, and we're going to repot them. So we have very good soil we're going to put in. We're going to prune them good, and then we'll see where they go and what happens to them. So we will see. But it's nice to see buds. And so that's about it for inside the greenhouse. And well, you know, sometimes when you hit a bump in the road, you have to take a different road. And I think that's what we're going to do as far as this goes. So I'm going to say goodbye.